When I was 15, my dad passed away, leaving me, a 23-year-old male, and my 45-year-old mom behind. She didn't wait long to start over and moved in with her new partner just 2 months later. In his will, my dad left everything to me, and not even a dime to her. They weren't married, and my dad's will was so structured that she couldn't challenge it. She even attempted and asked me to pass one of my properties to her to show my new dad that he was welcomed. I couldn't do that even if I wanted to because my dad's will specified that I must be 21 to access everything he left me. This new partner of my mom had 2 kids, an 18-year-old male and a 19-year-old female. Their ages now. My mom prioritized them to keep him happy. I mean, she wasn't a bad parent or neglectful, but she tended to favor them. They went on trips, and even though she didn't explicitly tell me not to go, she'd say something between the lines, like, "Wouldn't you like to go to your grandparents? My dad's place is better." I'm not stupid, and I knew she didn't want me there. When I turned 17, she asked me to leave my own house because I kept fighting with her partner. I also reminded him of whose house it was when he wanted to play the man of the house. I even called him John Conroy. My grandparents told me to avoid confrontation, so I went to live with them. My mom would visit me often and tell me how much she loved me, but she needed to keep peace at home. After college, I decided to check my properties, including the one where my mom lives. I wanted to renovate it to rent it out because it's a good one and can help me afford my master's degree. I went there to inform my mom, but no one was there. Later, I found out they had gone on vacation. I called her, but she didn't answer. So I proceeded to change the locks, mainly to take legal possession. Officially, they arrived yesterday and couldn't get in. Of course, they called me, but I wasn't in town. I went there today because some renovation work will start in a few weeks. I was in the backyard when my mom came in furious, yelling at me for changing the locks. So we talked, and I let them know they had 2 weeks to leave. Her husband, who was an unemployed, or self-employed, as she said, was furious. My mom and her stepdaughter started crying because the girl was pregnant. I'm sorry, but I made up my mind. My mom's family is shaming me, but I'd like to know if you think I'm the idiot. Note, some parts of the original text were restructured for clarity, and punctuation was added for readability. I'm pretty proud of my kids, John and Lisa. John graduated from a top university and has a high-paying job as an engineer, while Lisa pursued a master's degree in business and worked in marketing. Eventually, she started her marketing consulting firm and became a part owner of a spa. John recently got engaged to his girlfriend of 2 years, and they want to get married by the end of this year. She seems nice. However, she doesn't earn as much as him. My son spends a lot of money on her, on dates, and on expensive gifts. I understand it's his money, and he can spend it however he wants. She also moved in with him in the condo that I gave him. As far as I know, she doesn't pay her share of utilities and association fees. Now, Joan is asking to get part of his trust fund to use for the wedding, since his fiancée doesn't have much money to contribute to their wedding. Now, here's where I might be the idiot. I told him I'd release part of his trust fund early if he drew up a prenup with her. He got angry and told me I was unfair because I released half of Lisa's trust fund last year to help put up a business. He told me that I was playing favorites. I told him that Lisa did something worthwhile with her trust fund, and while a wedding is worthwhile, I told him it doesn't seem safe to use his fund for a wedding to a girl who doesn't bring much to the table. I told him I just wanted him to have some security by drawing up a prenup. He got angrier and said I was implying that his fiancée is a gold digger. My wife and the rest of the family refused to take sides. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. So he's done everything you've expected, and you're really going to try to force him into a prenuptial. I understand your position, but if he loses the money, that's on him. So just make it clear you won't bail him out. You are the idiot. I grew up relatively poor. My husband comes from a very wealthy family. Everyone called me a gold digger. We're happily married, and now I make more money than him, only by a few thousand. Am I still a gold digger, or is my husband the gold digger now? Plenty of people are gold diggers, but making less money or coming from less money does not automatically make you a gold digger. Having a prenup isn't a bad idea, but the way you talk about everything in this, it's obvious that you only care about money. You're the only one who cares. We have no clue what anyone else thinks or how they are because you only talk about money. Not the idiot. Why would premarital assets be shared once you're married? You're a team. Of course, any financial success your son may have after marriage would almost certainly be achieved in large part thanks to his wife's support. But gifts given from loved ones, why would that be a joint asset? Update. The next day, I had a long conversation with my son. First, I apologized to him for making that comment about his fiancée. I realized it was demeaning and uncalled for. Second, I asked about their living arrangement. He did admit to paying for everything, including bills and food. He even pays for someone to clean because neither of them would. I asked if she ever offered to pay, and he said no. I told him I have nothing against their arrangement and spoiling her, but he has to be wiser about his spending habits. I explained the importance of a prenup and said I had one with his mom and stepmom. He still refuses to because, according to him, it might offend her. This raised some red flags, so I will stick to my decision and release his trust fund when he's 30, as we initially agreed. He wasn't happy with this. Lastly, I asked what kind of wedding they planned to have that they felt the need to use his trust fund. She dreams of having a big wedding on the beach. She also wants a photo and video production to announce their engagement, which I find ridiculous. They want it this year but can't afford it, as she's only paying for her wedding dress, and my son admitted that he doesn't have a lot of savings, probably from going on expensive dates and trips. So I told him it's not practical, but if they really want it, they should wait and save up for it. At that point, I felt better about my decision not to release his trust fund early. The way I see it, my son could go broke in a few years paying for everything and spoiling his fiancée. Wife, their trust fund is the last thing all my kids will get from me. That being said, I may be an idiot, but not a total idiot to not support his wedding. My wife and I agreed to give them a certain amount that should cover a lovely venue and still have some leftover amount for other expenses. It will be our wedding gift to them. If he's still not happy, then there's nothing more. I can do it. If they go no contact or low contact, I'd still feel at peace with my decision. I provided for him, and I tried to protect him. If she leaves him and he ends up losing everything, I hate for that to happen. But that's on him. But I do hope that their marriage works out. Thanks for the update. The real question should be, how can he and his fiancée not have money for a wedding when they have a paid-for condo? He has a high-paying job, and she works too. How much is this wedding they're planning? Like Justin Timberlake and Jessica Biel's style. I mean, I had a decent-paying job and a house payment, and saved a nice chunk of change for a decent-sized wedding with some planning and budgeting. I think they need financial literacy more than a prenup. Am I the only one concerned that if what OP says is true about his son's fiancé not paying for utilities, etc., is in fact concerning? I always pay my fair share because I'm an independent adult, and marriage doesn't change that. Also, why such an extravagant wedding if she cannot afford it? If your son screws this up and you bail him out, you will not be doing him any favors. Whatever the outcome, he needs to be on his own. Hopefully, that means he'll be happily married, but I'm not sure that will be the case. My best friend got married last weekend at a destination wedding. I was the maid of honor, and our friend group was bridesmaids. I originally planned on having my kids stay with my in-laws because I didn't want to exhaust them by bringing them to a destination wedding. But a few weeks before the wedding, my friend insisted on me bringing the kids for the ceremony because she wanted them to be ring bearers. I had told her that I couldn't just bring the kids to the ceremony because I'd have to pay for a babysitter for the reception, and I couldn't afford that. I had to pay for a destination wedding, a destination bachelorette party, all my expenses on hair and makeup, and the maid of honor dress, plus the wedding gift. She was begging me and started crying about how much she loves my kids and wants them as ring bearers, and she'll find a solution regarding a babysitter. I trusted her on that. I didn't want to let her down because her wedding had already been canceled 4 times in 2 years, and I didn't want to add to her stress anymore. So we leave for the wedding, and at the last minute, I found out that the bride had forgotten to hire the babysitter. Despite her reassuring me we don't have to worry about it multiple times. That resulted in my husband skipping the reception and returning to the hotel with the kids after the meal. Everyone enjoyed themselves with their partners, while I was all alone because my husband was away. My best friend told me to cheer up, and it wasn't a big deal, but it was hard, as I felt like I was third-wheeling everyone. All my friends were with their partners. It wasn't their responsibility to keep me company because of the bride's negligence about the babysitter. After we returned, the bridesmaids told me how sorry they felt and how I was right to feel upset. They also said they're mad about how the bride has guilted all of us regarding the amount we'd spend overall, despite knowing our financial situations, and how they feel like she partly guilt-tripped us because her wedding had been canceled before. This week, I met for coffee with my best friend, and she asked me my honest opinion about everything and not sugarcoat it. So I told her. I was mad how she promised to handle one thing for me, and she failed, after me and the bridesmaids had made sure to do everything to her liking, despite our hardships. I told her I didn't want to complain about her during the wedding planning in order not to stress her out, but I told her since all of this was over, I felt like she was wrong, trying to guilt-trip us as if it was our fault her wedding got canceled before. She then started crying and said she's worthless and a horrible friend, and that I implied she's a bad person. The rest of the bridesmaids found out, and now all believe I'm the idiot for telling the bride my honest feelings, and I should just suck it up and let it go, despite being right. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. So the bride wanted everything her way, regardless of the cost or other burdens it might cause you and the other wedding party members, and didn't stop manipulating people after the wedding. I think that the only reason she asked for OP's honest opinion was to be able to turn people against OP and make them forget how she treated them all. Also, she didn't get defensive. She went right to, "Oh, I'm a bad person." She knew the answer before she asked. She was hoping you would lie to her to make her feel better. Sounds like an emotional manipulation tactic to me. She may not be so great of a person. Destination weddings already ask a huge burden on everyone involved, but as someone not in the US, this thing about bridesmaids paying for their hair and makeup continues to astound me. You gave so much for her special day, and she couldn't even keep a babysitter promise. Why are you friends with someone so manipulative and willing to use you? I'm a 24-year-old woman and have a stepmother who recently turned 50. My parents divorced when I was 5, and my dad remarried when I was 8, so I've known my stepmother for a long time, and I rather like her. Plus, she's the mother of my younger half-siblings, so getting along with her is good. I live with my mom, growing up, but still saw my dad a lot, and by proxy I saw her. For my mom's 50th birthday, I paid for the two of us to stay at a really nice hotel for the weekend and have a girly pampering time. It was a great memorable time for the two of us. I got invited to the party for my stepmother's 50th, and I know she feels the cold easily, so I made her a crochet blanket in her favorite colors, purple and gray. It's the size of a queen bed so she can easily have it on their bed. She liked it but seemed confused that there wasn't more and asked if I had something else planned. I was confused and asked what she meant, and she brought up how I'd done a whole weekend thing for my mom, and surely this blanket wasn't all that I had planned for her, right? The party got a bit awkward after that, and I told her I'd done more, as that was my mom, and I'd also spent months working on this blanket for her, so it wasn't a simple thing. She got upset, and when I stressed the difference being that my mom was my mom, so of course, she received a different category of gift. My dad felt I was being rude and not treating her fairly. Now, I like her, but she didn't raise me. Had my father been raising me, I could see why she'd be upset over this, but he only had me every other weekend and the occasional summer and Christmas. My dad then tried to say I should take her out to make it more even. I got upset with this and said no, that I couldn't afford that because of the money I'd spent on wool, and besides, I felt my gift was plenty thoughtful. I ended up leaving the party not long after all of this. My dad is upset with me, thinking I did this on purpose to upset her and ruin her day. I honestly thought I'd done something nice for her birthday. Is it wrong that I'd planned different kinds of gifts for this? Not the idiot. You spent months making her a beautiful and thoughtful gift, and she's mad that you didn't spend enough, and that your mom got something more. You're not the idiot. Your stepmom is super entitled, and your dad should be ashamed for backing her up. I don't know if it will do any good or be worth the breath use, but if you've been crocheting for a while, she must know how time-consuming it is. Knowing the time and care it takes to crochet a queen-size blanket should have made her feel honored, not slighted. For months, you worked on this for her, so a lot of thought and planning goes into a project like that. You thought of something that would comfort her, keep her warm, picked her favorite colors, and spent so many hours over a long period working on something for her. How close could the two of you possibly be if she can't recognize that? Honey, I'm so sorry for you. A gift like that is a literal labor of love and deserves to be cherished and appreciated.